All right, last segment, folks. Talking sports with that guy right here on CosmicBroadcasting.com. Line's still wide open for you if you want to get one last shot in. 719-362-8851 or 8852. On the hotline with me is a guy who I got a feeling that once he figures out exactly what I said, he's going to start correcting me on some things. He's the CEO of Hardwood Hoops Central. He eats, sleeps it, and breathes it. His name is Stephen Barnard. Steve, what's going on, man?
Talking sports with that guy. Listen, if you're saying that, T-H-A-T, you probably got an A in English, but over here we're dealing with C+, but we know our sports. What's going on, man?
Another day, another 22 cents, man. How'd your podcast go?
Not too bad. Nothing like a 10:30 podcast to wake you up and get your day going. Afterwards, I kind of felt like I should just walk around with a boom box and playing my theme music. It made me feel good, so I'm ready to go. Damn
straight. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, we speaking the same language. All right, so let's dive into it. Final four national semifinals coming up in a matter of hours. I'm not sure if you heard, but I think you did. I just went off on some of the pundits about John Calipari. I got a lot of people out there making excuses saying, "Oh, he's just a good recruiter, but he's not a good coach. Oh, he cheats and this, that, and the other." Okay, either set me straight or state my case. What do you think about John Calipari?
I mean, I love John Calipari both as a coach and as a recruiter. I mean, look, at the end of the day, people can say what they want. You have to be able to go and get the talent, which is a talent within itself, and it means that people have to believe in you as a coach. Okay, these kids aren't just like, well, he seems like a cool guy. Let's go on down to Kentucky. First of all, it's Kentucky. Okay? I mean, I understand, all right, it can't be an easy sell. All right, I'm just saying, look, some of these kids are coming from city backgrounds, and that's nothing against Big Blue Nation. Let's just be honest. It's Kentucky. Okay? That's one. So he's able to sell these kids to come on down there and sells them on the idea of playing a team game. Do you understand how hard it is to get five guys who, if any of these guys went anywhere else, they could probably be the best player on their team?
Ding.
So he has done basically on the college level, and I'm not comparing the two, so don't kill me for it, but he's doing on the college level what Phil Jackson has done on the NBA level. He is getting great players to basically play the way he sees they should play. Period. That's a talent. People underestimate that. Like, oh, well, just put them on the court and they'll be great. Oh, really? So they didn't lose games this year?
Right.
They didn't have games where they had 17 turnovers. They didn't lose twice in overtime to Arkansas, who didn't even make the tournament. They didn't lose to LSU. They didn't look, look, they've lost to Florida 3 times. I mean, look, they've had games where they've gotten their butts handed to them. But at the end of the day, John Calipari said, you know what? Keep listening, keep playing, and now look where they're at.
That's it exactly. Sticking with the theme of coaches, I'm gonna ask you to give you a true or false, and then let you elaborate. With this Final Four, we are looking at what could be three of the best coaches to ever do it in this era. True or false?
Yeah. And to be honest with you, Kevin Ali is going to end up being a really nice up-and-coming coach. So you're dealing with 4 coaches that at the end of the day, depending on how Kevin Ali's career shakes out, and it's doing pretty well thus far, you're talking about really a really good class right here. But I mean, Bo Ryan, and John Calipari and Billy Donovan. I mean, first of all, think about how many people were talking about the SEC not even having a great representation in this tournament, and now you're going to have a situation where the only 2 teams, well, technically Tennessee was in there, but basically the 2 teams who actually made the tournament without having to play a play-in game are going to be potentially in the final.
Right.
So that says all you need. And plus, again, this is the 4th time that the Gators that made it to the Elite Eight are better. And Kentucky's not going anywhere. And then Bo Ryan, I mean, you want to talk about a model of consistency in Wisconsin? Sure, they might not be making national championships, but they're sure enough making people respect them year in and year out.
Yeah, definitely on point there. Excuse me, Stephen Barnard of Hardwood Hoops Central on the hotline with us. I love what ESPN made the comparison to in regards to all 4 coaches in the Final Four. He compared them all to football coaches, and I want to know if you agree with these or not. The first comparison was Kevin Ollie as somewhat of a special team coach, and a special teams coach in basketball, meaning inbound plays from the side, plays from under the basket. Agree or disagree on that regard?
Yeah, I would agree in that regard. I mean, he's been a guy. I can't put him up to assistant coach status or a head coach status just yet. If we're doing the head football coach kind of comparison, or the coach comparison in that regard. But at the end of the day, you understand that special teams plays is just as much a part in a game. A kickoff or a field goal can be just as vital to a game as a tackle, as a touchdown, or anything like that. So that's a guy in Kevin Ali who's able to put together plays that win games, and that's something that UConn has really hung its hat on, just being able to make plays and put pressure on the other teams that they played.
Absolutely. As we always say in football, and I'm sure it goes for any sport, defense wins championships. And if you're going to put somebody out there, there would be no other person I would want as a defensive coordinator than Billy Donovan at Florida. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, him or Bo Ryan. I mean, either one you can flip. But I mean, at the end of the day, both of these teams, Wisconsin and Florida, I mean, excellent defensive teams. Florida's, obviously the better defensive team statistically, but I think Wisconsin doesn't get nearly as much in terms of respect as they should defensively. But definitely, if you're just looking at the coaches to assign a defensive coordinator, Billy Donovan is year in and year out, has had teams that have been extremely disciplined defensively, gotten guys to buy in, and that's a hard side of the floor to get guys to buy in. Everybody wants to make plays, everybody wants to make contributions offensively, but when you can get 5 guys to buy in defensively and believing in shutting down the other team is being the mantra, that's in itself. We're talking about talent when we talk about John Calipari. That's a talent as a coach to be able to get guys to buy into that side of the floor and play that way year in and year out.
Here's the one that kind of got me, but I can admit why it got me. It's because I do not know nor understand the full intricacies of the swing offense. Bo Ryan's been running it for years. Why does he get the OC nod?
I don't know. I mean, to me, I put it to you like this. When you talk about Wisconsin in terms of the swing offense, the biggest thing about the swing offense is being able to find matchups that you like and taking advantage of it. You talk about a guy like Frank Kaminsky and a head coach. What is a head coach's job? Let's think about that for a second. A head coach's job is to delegate and put guys in the right position. And I think when you look at the swing offense and you look at the ability that Wisconsin has to take advantage of matchups based on how they swing the ball, how they keep the ball moving, that in itself is the coach saying, listen, if you guys keep moving the ball and finding those mismatches, and I'll teach you how to do this, but if you guys do this, we'll get the matchups that we want, and we'll be able to take advantage of enough of them to where we'll have a close game. And down the stretch, our defense, our ability to rebound on the defensive end will take over, and we can play with anybody in the country, and that's what they've done.
John Calipari being looked at as somewhat of a head coach, somewhat of a motivator. Is that underselling him?
No, I don't think it undersells him. I think that is the foundation of who John Calipari is. At the end of the day, and for a coach, when we talked about earlier that Phil Jackson comparison, you got to be able to know how to push guys' buttons and get them to buy in and really motivate them and sell them on their position. Again, any of these guys that we talked about on Kentucky, James Young, the Harrison twins, these guys could have gone elsewhere and been, great. We could be talking about them having a breakout tournament. Instead, we're talking about the team having a breakout tournament. So he's gotten them to buy into the team as opposed to the me, the kind of society we're in now. So that in its own right is motivation, and that is something you want from your head coach to be able to do. Because again, it's your job to get the best talent on the floor, and for him, he's been able to consistently get the best talent not only on the floor but in the country.
Absolutely. Now let's get down to the matchups itself. Florida and UConn. The last time Florida had an L next to its name, it was courtesy of the UConn Huskies. Is this a possible setup for this to happen again? Is Shabazz Napier that good to be able to take over this game, or is this literally a case to where Florida's saying, "Hey, you dogs, you're just in the way"?
I think no. Both these games are going to be extremely close, and I'll say this: where I'm looking at for this game, at the bottom line is who is going to control the paint on the board, and who is going to essentially make the least amount of mistakes and who's going to make the most free throws. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to go ahead and just read you the turnovers to free throw margins for UConn. And this is the biggest reason that they've gotten to this point, because they have not beat themselves. When they played against St. Joe's, only 9 turnovers, 8 of 20 from the free throw line. Villanova, only 11 turnovers, 22 of 28 from the free throw line. 9 turnovers versus Iowa State, and only went 20 for 22 from the free throw line. And then Michigan State, a game where they shot poorly, only 8 turnovers and went 21 of 22 from the line. If they hadn't went 21 of 22 from the line, they probably wouldn't have beat Michigan State. And if they wouldn't have limited turnovers like they did against Iowa State, they wouldn't have ended up winning that game. So they've figured out a way to not beat themselves. And it's understated how important it is to not make the highlight play or the play everybody remembers, but just make the right play consistently. That's not a message that enough people understand as a casual observer. When you can make the right decision, I mean, look at just your life in general. When you consistently make the right decisions, you end up in a better direction, hopefully.
Yeah.
But when you continue to make decisions up and down, well, what does your life do? It has its peaks and its valleys. So this has been a team that has avoided the peaks and the valleys and has continued to play within themselves. And, hey, they've got the best player in the tournament. I mean, Shabazz Napier right now is shooting almost 52% from the three-point line and averaging 23 points per game in this tournament. So, and on top of that, most people don't realize he's leading the team in rebounds as well. So he's doing it all.
Kentucky, Wisconsin. What are the questions that should be answered in watching that national semifinal?
The biggest matchup I'm looking at is basically Frank Kaminsky, who everybody's been talking about against Kentucky's bigs. Again, talking about Wisconsin being able to take advantage of matchups, they're going to continue to try to find a matchup where Frank Kaminsky can take advantage of it, and I think he will. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's 7 feet tall. He's going to be able to shoot over guys like Alex Poythress, who's 6'8", Marcus Lee, and Julius Randle, who are both 6'9", and he's really quick on his feet. So if a guy like Dakari Johnson, who's not that quick laterally, is going to try to guard him, especially out on the perimeter, he's going to get lost. So that is a big area where Wisconsin can take some advantage and really exploit what Kentucky lacks. Now, if he's going to play down in the block, obviously that favors Kentucky. But for me, if they can continue just to find open shots, not allow Kentucky's size to really overwhelm them, but just continue to move the ball, you're talking about a team that is shooting, I think, about around 38% from three. They've got 4 guys in this team who end up shooting 37% or better. I mean, they can knock it down. So if they can just continue to stay away from the size that Kentucky poses and just continue to move that ball, that's going to bode well for them. And then for Kentucky, if they can just figure out a way to slow Wisconsin down, because Wisconsin's a team that likes to get out in transition. If Kentucky can use its size, use its athleticism to stay in front of these guys and make them have to shoot contested shots and not let them get out in transition, that really favors Kentucky.
All right, with all of the breakdown that you just gave, Mr. CEO, who are we looking at Monday night for the national final?
Man, you know what? I stayed up for a while breaking this stuff down, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not comfortable with either game, but really what it comes down to for me is I got UConn beating Florida, and I've got Wisconsin beating Kentucky.
Whoa. That goes completely against everybody else in the nation.
That's cool. I'm good with that because you know what? This whole tournament's gone against everybody in the nation.
That is true. That is definitely true. Stephen Barnard, CEO of Hardwood Hoops Central. Remind my folks how they can get a hold of you, brother.
HardwoodHoopsCentral.com. You can follow me on Twitter at HWHoopsCentral. I will be live tweeting during the games tonight as best I can, so follow along and interact if you'd like. It is social media, so feel free to talk. I can't bite online, so don't worry about it.
Hey, Elton, as always, man, appreciate you coming on. I love the way that you answer the phone. Hey, is it time to kick ass? It's always time to kick ass. Appreciate you coming on, brother.
Not a problem. Have a good one.
You too. Hey, that's it, guys. That's our show. Huge shout out to Stephen Barnhart, CEO of Hardwood Hoops Central. Alex A.K., Trend Betting Crew. Don't forget you can catch them here every Friday, 4 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on CosmicBroadcasting.com. Huge shout out to my mentor, Sean Gibson, the executive director of the Josh Gibson Foundation, as well as the man that kicked it off for us, Dan Favale of Bleacher Report. That's our show. Huge shout out to everybody there, and especially to you, because If it weren't for you, I would just be a guy in an empty room praying that somebody hears me. Because you show me every week that you hear me, I promise to come back next week and do it better. Until then, peace, love, and 2 homework assignments, okay? Number 1, call your mama. Tell her you love her. And number 2, as always, talk sports.